funny, so it might be something on my end, but it was just like,
We're
it
live.
would go and it was
Live,
like it was
okay.
not
Okay.
doing anything. 1 minute.
It always is. 10 seconds. You sure didn't freeze that screen? There it is. All right, this meeting of the City of Frostburg is called to order at 4 p.m. We'll start with call of the roll, please.
Commissioner Ritchie,
Here.
Commissioner Carter,
Here.
Commissioner Grove,
Here.
Commissioner Forsyth,
Here.
and Mayor Logsdon.
Here. All right. Meeting topics for tonight. Item 3, meeting topics 3A, the budget proposal.
Okay, this evening I have the budget ordinance now that we would be looking at as opposed to the draft budget that we looked at last month. This budget ordinance is balanced as is required, but to accomplish having a balanced budget, it did require use of fund balance in the corporate fund and the water fund. So overall, total revenues citywide in this version of the budget are about $17.6 million. Total expenses of around $17.4 million. Both the water surcharge fund and the garbage fund have net income based on the budget ordinance, and this is in the goal of working towards our target fund balance. So compared to the draft budget, which we looked at last month, overall there's a citywide decrease of $1.9 million of revenues and $3.4 million of expenses. And what I will attempt to do today is just to give you the highlights of what is consistent in this version of the budget compared to what has changed, just of substantial line items. So first of all, what is the same as the draft budget? This is based on maintaining the current tax rates, both for real estate taxes and personal property taxes. It's also based on maintaining your current utility fees that are in place, with the exception of garbage, and in the garbage fund, this is incorporating a $2 per unit increase per month. The fee schedule was also presented last month. I had highlighted the changes last month in the fee schedule. No substantial changes this month. I do want to highlight, though, the one new item that's appearing in the fee schedule, which is because of the agreement with Servline for the leak adjustment protection for single unit residential properties beginning in July. So the fee schedule highlights that monthly fee of $1.70 per unit, and customers will have the opportunity to opt out prior to that fee beginning. But that is a new, a new item in the fee schedule this year. So that's what has stayed the same compared to last month. Now let's talk about what has changed. First of all, some of the main expense categories. So for salaries and compensation, in the draft budget, we had included an overall salary increase of 5% for all full-time employees, plus some special adjustments for police and street department promotions. This version of the budget has that overall percentage down to 3% instead of 5%, but it does maintain the special increase for 4 police officers and 3 promotions within the street department. We removed the intern stipend and the seasonal recreation employee salaries from the salaries in this budget. And I also reduced the liability that had been included for retiree payouts. In examining the liability that had already been accrued as of June 30, 24, I only needed to add the incremental increase over the past year rather than their entire payout. out, so that is included. So the net change in the salaries from the draft budget to the budget ordinance is a decrease of about $94,000 between the various funds. So the salary decrease then flows through to your payroll taxes and workers' compensation expense. I did receive an update from Maryland State Retirement since last month as far as what the employer contribution rates will be for LEOPS and also for the regular employees pension plan, and that was an increase compared to the rate that I used in the draft budget. So while we pulled salaries down, I had to increase the contribution rate. In the insurance category, we received from CBIZ our new property insured values. So of course they increase the values of the properties and in some cases also the contents that we're insuring. So we recalculated estimated insurance with these increased values. We also received projected rate increases from Legit for our various liability coverages and auto insurance, and all these were higher than I projected in the draft budget, so those increases flip through as well. Some changes from the departmental requests that were included in the draft budget in some cases were substantial, and this was necessary in order to get to the balanced budget. First of all, in the street department, there was 4 line items where we had to make substantial decreases compared to the departmental request. One of those line items was salt and abrasives, which was decreased by $50,000. Street equipment maintenance line item was decreased by $30,000. Street shop equipment decreased by $20,000. And the street paving budget was also decreased. We reclassified the amount that was included to pave the parking lot at the street shop building, incorporated only half of that being done next year, and then reducing the overall paving budget. So you'll see that decrease as well. The other department that took a big hit was the water fund, particularly the water distribution budget. On a positive note in the water fund and in the initial draft budget, we were projecting no water sales to Coney next year. In consideration with the best available information that Hayden has at this point, also confirmed with Mark Kaiser of MES this morning, we feel there's a reasonable likelihood that we will have some sales to Coney during the dry months of the summer. So incorporating that revenue, it did allow us to budget for more revenue in the water fund. But we did have to decrease expenses substantially. So there's a decrease in the water fund expenses of around $326,000 between the draft budget and this budget ordinance. We decreased the MES filtration contract line item by about $55,000 and decreased transmission main expense by $65,000. Biggest line item that had to go was the capital outlay of $200,000. That was for planned water line replacements. So in essence, to make the budget balance based on projected revenues, maintaining the current water rates, it does not provide the opportunity to do those proactive projects to address needs of aging infrastructure. We also had to utilize fund balance to the maximum extent we feel comfortable to still be within our target fund balance, but not go below it. So just as a cautionary item, the water fund cannot be sustainable under the current rate structure and have anything to deal with proactive projects, and very likely not enough to deal with emergencies. So that will just have to be considered as we go forward. But we have had discussions about the need to reevaluate the structuring of the water surcharge rate and the water rate with the county in the coming year so that we can address these needs. So I do feel comfortable that this is a situation that can be we can go into for the budget year, but it's not sustainable beyond this year. So that's
Hopefully
my,
we won't have
that's
any
my-
emergencies.
Well, but like, those things are
Had one today.
unpredictable, yes. So, just a word of caution, in the coming year. So, next, the sewer fund. We did, have a very productive meeting to discuss the projected timeline of the CSO projects. And, with evaluation of that and the projected timing, you'll see a substantial decrease in the percentage of the projects that we see likely to be completed in fiscal year '26. So overall, that decrease of about $2.9 million associated with grant funding, loan funding, but that's why you see such a big change in the sewer fund from the draft budget to the budget ordinance. And then also one other item in the water surcharge fund. In the budget ordinance, we've included an additional expense for the well exploration project of about $172,000, which was not included in the draft budget. And there's also potential grant funding to accompany that partially. So those are new items that you will see.
And I should clarify that that project will not go forward without grant funding. So we're hopeful that we will get some, but we will not pursue that $172,000 unless a big portion of it is grant funded. So
Do you have a percentage in mind as far as
hopefully 100%.
likely?
What,
Likely would be 60%.
and
But we'd still go ahead if it were just 60?
I would think so. That'll be a question for you all, but I mean, my opinion of it would be worth it. Yeah. So paying $60,000 for
I mean, we're talking about future.
for the possibility for expansion and development. And if someone down the road is on us in the future, we would need it. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if we have another big drought.
So then, again, just kind of as a snapshot, that includes, in this version of the budget, it had the original hotel motel allocations, which we'll discuss more. It also had revenue from the rental housing program based on the existing rate structure, so that will also be a discussion item. Those items could change. But this is what's the best available information that we have right now, our best projections of revenues and expenses. And I know that there's a lot of detail in all the documents, but I'm more than happy to address questions or concerns that you have, areas where you would like more clarification. I'm happy to explain more.
so back to the surcharge, the 172 for the
capital
capital. Yeah, is the 60% income that we're anticipating from grants, is that also included on the income side?
Yes.
Okay.
So when you look at the water surcharge fund, there is a new line item there in the surcharge fund where, on the revenue side, the project reimbursement, so that 120,000, we're looking at potential grant sources from USDA
Rural
and
Maryland Council.
Rural Council.
Got it, okay.
So, and then you see the project expense, under the expense line, the account ending in 5800 capital outlay, 172,000. So,
We're also hopeful, in the best case, that 172,000 is for the full extent and exhaustion of research. If they go and right away they drill a well that perks at 100 gallons a minute, and they've only spent $25,000, they know they'll stop there. So that's a rosy-eyed view of it. I don't
Sure.
think that'll happen, but it's possible.
Sure.
So,
Well, as far as leasing the land there goes,
we own it. Yeah.
you've worked something out with the guy?
It's on Piney property.
Oh, it's on, okay.
Right, and we're trying to get it right next to our water line too. That way, if we do find a well that's feasible, we can just plumb right into the line we already have.
Great.
Now it would come with a pump station, which is a project we apply for at PACE in 2 years and say, hey, we need however many X amount of dollars to pay for it. But
Mhm.
Okay. And then the garbage fund that's showing the net positive of 52. that's to, I can't think of the word.
That's
That's
to
to get us back into our fund balance that we're
into
looking
our
at.
target
Fund balance. Okay.
Yes, because we have a deficiency, as of the end of the last fiscal year of around $158,000 short of our target, so it will take a couple years of
Just in the garbage fund?
just in the garbage fund to.
Is it because tipping fees went up or amount?
So, when I'm referring to the target fund balance, so it's not like we're
Oh, the
158.
fund balance, okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's not like we're 158,000 short in
Yes.
expenses this year. We're just
Right.
short of that much of the fund balance. So this year, if we think we'll come out 50,000 ahead,
Mhm.
then 2 more years like that,
Mhm.
unless you adjust rates, but we don't know what will happen to it.
What is the target number?
So the target number, according to Resolution 2011-52, it is supposed to be equal to 30 to 50% of expenditures.
Okay.
So as expenditures increase, the target increases. But based on the prior fiscal year, we should have had to get in our target range between 143,000 and 239,000. And we had a negative fund balance
Got it.
at the end of last year, unassigned. You have to exclude what's invested in capital assets
Mhm.
when you're looking at your unassigned fund balance. So we have lots of assets,
Yes.
but when they're tied up in fixed assets, they're not readily available to meet expenditures.
So the 52, that will get us, it won't get us where we need to be, but it'll get us out of the red.
It would get us out of the red
Okay.
if we don't have anything else unexpected.
Right, okay. Okay.
This is also not counting on that development actually coming to completion and renting out before the end of the fiscal year either, because can't count your chickens before they're hatched.
There's always uncertainty.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the budget in a snapshot view. So just to highlight again, the utility rates, the only one that would be changing would be garbage at $2 per unit per month. And the rest would remain the same.
That's yeoman work.
Thank you for doing this. It is, thank you, and thank Trevor both for what you did in this. This is a Herculean task.
Well, and it's a teamwork between the department heads
Sure.
too, because when they submitted their request for the draft budget, it was based on what they felt that they needed. So in making the budget balance, we are not meeting the needs that are anticipated, particularly in the street department and the water department. So, we have to work within our means.
Sure, of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very
I
good.
think Lydia was gonna address hotel motel.
Okay. So, we spoke about this last month in work session. I have the numbers up again. You guys wanted to, there's a recommendation to look into and review those requests again. So just presenting it back, in the draft version of the budget, it does include all of the requests outside of the MCCA request. They had no amount included, and they have since indicated that they are requesting $1,500. Other than that, $1,500 that is already included in that draft version of the budget. Do you guys have any concerns with any of the projects? Or would we like to move forward with the approval as they've been requested?
I would like to know if any other council members went and spoke to any of the businesses in town.
I was going to and I forgot. I'm sorry.
I didn't make any formal appointments to anybody, but I did kind of ask around, and I mean, got some mixed answers, some apathy, some, nobody was really willing to say anything outwardly negative, but I mean, is there,
Bethany, would you like to elaborate on any opinion?
I think she's muted herself.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yeah.
yes,
Great. Well, thanks for considering these requests. Like I said in my previous email to the council, really, if there are concerns about, Frostburg First or, the operations, I am a board member appointed by the council that, my role as that is to serve as the liaison between the city and the organization. So if there are specific concerns that are coming up, I would love to have the opportunity to remediate them or to bring it to the attention of Frostburg First if it hasn't already been. I believe very strongly in the benefit of Frostburg First and the Main Street program and the value that it adds to our downtown and the role that they play in bringing visitors to our town. I'm happy to answer any other questions that you might have or elaborate on anything I just said.
Most of the feedback I've gotten, Bethany, is that they're never available when somebody goes down. They are never in their office. And I can attest to that. I walk by that office almost every day and it's dark every day. And my biggest concern is I've been asking, and I gave up asking, I just got fed up with it, wanted to meet with Deirdre for years. And everything got canceled all the time, or she'd send the intern up, and it's like, I don't want to talk to the intern. I want to talk to the boss because I have concerns. And one of my concerns going forward is the way everything they do is at City Place, and it's there to benefit the downtown. And nothing is benefiting the downtown. The last couple arts walks have been awful, god awful. They always want to partner and tag along with somebody else's event. Everybody goes to City Place and forgets that anything's out on Main Street. And it's getting hard to support a organization like that when you're not seeing any benefit as a business owner. I can't tell you the last time I got a notification saying, hey, we have a board meeting today. It's been years since that's come out. You would think that would go out every month or however often they meet. How many business owners are on the board?
Off the top of my head, I would say 60% of the board is comprised of business owners.
I'd really like to see that list. I really would.
Okay.
It's on the Frostburg First website, and that is up to date on that website.
I'll look that up then. But my biggest concern, and the biggest concern of most of the other business owners, is they're just not available. They're more worried about going away to some event somewhere else, and the Arts Walk will come up, I don't know when it is, a couple weeks from now, and the first advertisement that'll go out for the Arts Walk will be the Thursday before it. And it's just like
It's been advertised on WFWM for quite a while now.
Okay.
But who listens to
Yeah, and just to clarify about the concerns about the use of City Place for Arts Walk, this year there will be no artists in City Place, and there will be a children's business fair taking place in City Place during the Arts Walk.
which is exactly what they did last year.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you, my business, the last 3 Arts Walks, has been 10% of what it was prior to that. And that is in all of our businesses, restaurant, the retail spaces. It's been awful because they always want to piggyback on somebody else's event. And the Arts Walk is an event in itself that should be focused on the downtown, and they're not focused on the downtown.
That thing they did with the flowers, that got people into businesses. I went into so many businesses for that one, where they had the flowers at all it was like a spring, I can't remember what they called it, All the different businesses had
No,
flowers.
that was the Arts Walk that they canceled 2 days prior to and decided to do this other
Oh, really?
event. Yeah.
So they've also done, similar to the flowers, they did a like grow your own garden, which had seeds at each of the
Yeah, right,
businesses. And they've been like the lemonade stroll, where businesses have the lemonade.
Right.
The purpose of the hotel motel tax is to, give money to people who bring or attempt to bring business to Frostburg. I personally think that they achieve or try to achieve that. In terms of the purpose of what the hotel motel tax fund is supposed to go to. Now that said, we don't have to approve all of the requests. We can keep any remaining money. But just wanted to remind you guys of the purpose of the money.
Bethany, what
You don't have to give it.
is approximate? I mean, so the 30,000 that we're talking about giving to the organization. What is their budget for the year? I mean, what's their average revenue for the year? Would you say?
Well, I would need to pull up our most recent, financial report, and I can do that, if you allow me just a couple minutes here.
Sure.
And their budget was submitted in their in
Yeah.
their request for
Okay.
the hotel motel
Okay.
tax fund.
Oh no. I'm sure. I'm just curious of what our contribution is as an overall percentage. I mean, if we're giving them half their budget, or if it's 5%, or
While,
It
Beth-
used to be a lot more.
okay.
Just a moment here.
Okay.
while Bethany is looking into that, is this something you guys would like to see a meeting facilitated with their board?
That's what could we get
Yes, I
Andrew
would be
up
happy
here?
to facilitate any meetings you would like, and in fact, I would strongly encourage that, just so we can all remain on the same page.
Yeah, it sounds like one is warranted just to air out concerns and everyone be good going forward.
Yeah. Why don't we do that? Get with Deirdre and see when she has availability in the next 2 weeks, let's say, to come here and have a meeting with Hayden, with at least one of the commissioners, whoever's available, to talk about this. I think, yeah, Donnie's right. This is something that we need to make sure we get right.
Bethany, do you know where on their website oh, never mind, I found it. Okay.
Just be mindful of if you're going to meet with a quorum, that you want to probably do it in an open session.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So what I'm seeing here is, net revenue for the organization of $53,000. Let's see, the gross incoming, or the gross profit is $312,862.91. And then expenditures of $258,000. So based on the hotel motel allocation from the current fiscal year, it looks like, you all awarded them $15,000 for, the current fiscal year. All of their other revenue, so we've got, nearly $10,000 in Main Street improvement grant funding, a little over $18,000 in DHCD technical assistance funding, $9,500 in heritage area grant funding, $10,000 in Maryland Humanities operating operating funds, and then the A&E district, they get just over $17,000. So the total grant funding that they've obtained for the current fiscal year is $65,242.50.
Okay.
Hey, Bethany, just as an FYI, there is not one downtown business owner on the board of directors for Frostburg First.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's get with Deirdre whenever you're back. Whenever you get back, Bethany, get with Deirdre and tell her that we would like to have a meeting here, soon, in the next week or two, to talk about this, because I think this is warranted. And yeah, and Donnie's right. So we just looked at the board of directors. Two of the 5 people on the board are representatives of FSU. One is from one of the clubs in town, and then 2 are from banks. But that in itself is not disqualifying, but we need to talk this out. I agree.
If it's a business, if it's an organization representing the downtown, somebody from the there ought to be more people from the downtown involved.
Yeah, I agree.
At least one.
I agree.
So to circle back, we do need a decision on the hotel motel tax request by Tuesday for the budget ordinance, one way or another.
The hotel motel allocations are approved as part of the budget.
As part of the
ordinance.
budget ordinance.
Now, you could, as one option, you could take it out of the initial approval or at a reduced amount, and then when you do budget amendments later in the year, you could choose to increase it, but,
I don't think we're at the point yet where we want to take money out of, if we're looking at an organization that we're providing 10% almost of their revenue, if we could have the meeting with Deirdre or with whoever from there, well, Deirdre, and if she wants to bring someone from the board too, that would be fine, and say like something needs to change going forward. I think if we can, I don't want to say give the benefit of the doubt, but if we can say like, we're willing to do this, but we want to see some more out of it.
Are we okay with saying we would like to schedule this meeting and it could have we would like to schedule this meeting as soon as possible before we go to approve hotel motel tax. We would like to sit down and talk to get them in the door sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So.
You just simply say, we're in the process of assessing where we're going to send hotel motel tax monies. We have to make a decision by the end of next week, and we'd like to speak to you in advance of that time. Otherwise, we're going to be at a loss as to what to do with the money that we might have allocated to you. I think that would probably spark some significant interest in meeting.
So with Bethany being gone at a conference.
When
this
are you
week-
back, Bethany?
I'll be back on Monday.
Okay.
I would also like to note just really quick, I believe it was last year, the city, Frostburg First, and the Department of Housing and Community Development, we all signed an MOU, agreeing that the city would provide at least some financial support for the organization. And I'm happy to circulate a copy of that just for everyone, to refresh their memory. That was, I think over a year ago.
That's fine. I mean, just personally myself, not speaking for everybody, I'm okay with leaving the appropriation in there, but I do agree that we need to have the meeting to talk about concerns that we have. We'll leave it in there. And now if something happens and the meeting doesn't go well, whatever, we can talk about changing it. But I think leave it there, make it known that we have concerns. We want to have this meeting so that our concerns are alleviated the next time we do this. You know what I mean? The meeting
Yeah,
needs to
that
happen,
sounds
but
good.
we're talking about, it has to happen in a week, and you're not going to be back till Monday because you're at a work conference. So obviously, it's not going to happen this week, and putting it together Monday afternoon is probably not feasible for some of us. So
and we don't disperse all the funds at once.
Sure.
Just for clarity, like Frostburg First, I've been dispersing quarterly. So like in September, December, March, June, just like we amend other things in the budget, just approving it the first time does not mean it cannot be changed during the year.
Well, I'm okay with leaving it in as it is then,
Yeah.
and then making sure we cover everything.
Okay, so the only change then will be that addition of the 1,500 for MCCA to the budget.
okay.
Thank you guys.
All right,
Thank you, Bethany.
Thank you, Bethany.
Yeah.
All right, is she on for the next thing too?
She is, yes.
Okay, so the next thing then, Bethany, is rental housing registration.
So hopefully you all have had a chance to review the modified fee increase scenarios that I circulated last week. So I'm Leah, Arthur pronounces that, or should I just kind of talk through it?
It's on the big screen.
I didn't.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so scenario one on this, that's at our current rate, and as I mentioned in my previous email, that pretty well reflects the current revenue, and that's in that assuming 85% compliance. After we spoke about this last month, it was noted that the council would like to see at a bare minimum, that paid after April 1st line. The council did express interest in bumping that up from $40 per unit plus the $250 citation per unit up to $100 per unit. So I believe at a bare minimum that if you all are still in favor of that, that would be the bare minimum increase. So that that bumps up our revenue for the rental housing program by a little around $300. So scenarios 2 and 3 are what staff would urge the council to consider most closely. It really just depends how aggressive or how gradual you would like the increase to be. Scenario 2 increases the dollar amount per unit by $10 in the months of January and February. And then the fees in March and beyond would remain the same. Another option would be to start, moving down to scenario 3, would start at $50 per unit, and then for the first month of registration season, and then it would double each month until April 1st, when it would be a total of $200 per unit plus a $250 citation per unit. So scenarios 4 and 5, as I said, staff would recommend staying, in the kind of 3 and below area, but I just wanted to run a couple more numbers just so that you had a good idea of what revenue for this program could look like. And these numbers were pulled from other Maryland municipalities, including Salisbury and Hagerstown. So we just kind of wanted to give you a full picture of what options there are out there.
Approximately how many inspections do we do per year?
Per year? So we have a little over 1,800 units in the program, and they're inspected on a 3-year cycle, which is broken down into 6-month blocks.
Right,
So,
should be about-
1,800 divided by 6.
It should be 600 a year, I guess is what.
Yeah.
So 50 a month.
I'm
Yeah.
just trying to.
Yep.
So, I guess my question on all this is, I know we're going to have, with the proposal going forward, we're going to have a part-time employee converting over to a full-time employee, but at the same time, we're not going to be paying $30,000 a year in inspection fees to outside inspectors. I mean, obviously I'm a landlord too, but a lot of these seem like punitive, and we're really just trying to have compliance. And like this isn't supposed to be a moneymaker for the city. The landlords already have enough expenses. I mean, and with the way the university is, there's a lot of places out there that
The neighborhoods are really changing.
are vacant and having trouble renting and stuff. And I mean, I personally would like to stay at 2 or below, like scenario 2 or below. But I mean, I like I said, I think it's just we want people to comply, and I think for the most part, most of the people do want to comply. And
On average, how often how many people per year end up paying like the graduated fees, for being late?
Well, just a moment, please. Let me just pull this up. So this year we saw significantly more people waiting until April 1st to pay, which it was definitely a higher number than we've seen in the past. But I also want to note that my perspective on the rental housing program is a little not like up to normal because when I started with the city, we were in COVID and there were restrictions on licensing and things like that.
Yeah.
So things have been a little wonky number-wise in the rental housing program, as you can see in that breakdown from the last several years of revenue from the program. It's a little up and down. So I would say probably 5 to 10%, wait until that April 1st date. We have pretty good compliance. I would say probably about 65% pay in the month of January because they just want to get it over with and pay the lowest rate and, then they're all set for the year. But, we do have our stragglers and things like that. So
Has the February 1 date been consistent in past years? I mean, is that the magic day?
Yeah, that's been forever.
I'm sorry, what was the first part of that?
I was just wondering whether or not the February 1 date has been the date for past years as well.
To the best of my knowledge, it has. Perhaps someone who has longer tenure with the city could speak better to that. Maybe Elaine, if you have any insight on that.
Well, I was just thinking in terms of consistency, like, is this coming to as a surprise that February 1's the date for all the landlords, or has it been known for some time that February 1's the date they have to get this done by? And if that's been the date, then I guess the question is, why aren't they paying on time?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, to the best of my knowledge, February 1st has always been the magic date.
It's just late. Well,
And it's not for lack
or
of
it's just
trying
something
to
to ask and just
contact
forget
people.
about it.
We send things out via email, we send reminders. Every property owner and landlord and owner's agent receives the full packet in the mail. We even make phone calls sometimes, so, it's not for lack of trying to achieve compliance.
Oh, sure, no. Elaine, which of these revenue estimates is the one that's worked into your budget?
That shows up under, we changed the name from rental registration to rental licensing going forward. So that's the account number ending in 4052. We budgeted $75,000 for
Budgeted
FY26.
So the current scenario, that's the one that is assumed. Okay.
But Elaine, isn't there another reason? It's not strictly punitive. Why we want to encourage people to pay timely is related to how we put together certain numbers for the budget.
So also we evaluate the FDEs and EDUs, Frostburg dwelling equivalents, and equivalent dwelling units for purposes of surcharges. Each year we do that in February on the utility side. So we're looking not only at consumptions, but for multi-unit entities, we look at how many units they would have. If they're based on their consumption, the number of units is higher than the number of separate dwellings that they have, we increase it. We try and match up with the rental housing records so that they don't have something that's registered for 3 units, but we only see it as 1 unit. So because we do that in February, there's a distinct advantage to the rental housing registration being done earlier
Yeah.
so that we can do a better matching time-wise. When the registrations are delayed, then it's like backtracking to go back because otherwise we like to update all units in February in preparation for the March billing. So that's the
No, I agree.
disadvantage of allowing a prolonged period for the registration.
I mean, there definitely needs to be a drop dead date of, okay, you at some point I think it becomes punitive if somebody's dragging their feet or has not, done something in a certain period of time. But the whole basis of it, I agree with what Donnie said, is it's not punitive. We're registering it just for our information. So I agree that, if we're going to charge, if somebody gets past April 1st and gets to be late, or is deliberately dragging their feet or is doing whatever, then okay, get your act together. But in the meantime, the base fee, I don't see a need to significantly increase that. Because
Yeah,
again, we're not
right.
trying to make money off of folks that we're already,
Right.
you know, they're already paying taxes. They're already keeping up a lot of historic buildings and buildings that have a lot of upkeep. They're spending a ton of money already.
But they're also violating, I think, local ordinance by not paying the fees that are required for the license. So if they're not paying the fees for a license, and if the license revoked, then they would be leasing property without a license, which would be a citable.
Sure,
offense
well, that's
in
what I
and of
mean. So
itself.
once it gets beyond the point of it's a month or it's 2 months past due, then at that point it becomes punitive that you can't be doing that. Well, it's the same thing with the water rate. I mean, if people get behind on their water bill, they have a grace period before we really start to.
Come down on it.
Right.
Yeah, and like, well, here's a for instance, on the water bill, I mean, you get a late fee. Well, I don't know what the percentage is or whatever, but most of these were pretty much doubling the fee. I mean, you could argue that that's like usury. I mean, it's one thing, you know, it's due February 1st for $40. If it's not March 1st, not bad, $50. But once you get into April, you know, you're doubling it to 100.
I
Yeah,
think in this
that's
case, the
100%.
timeliness is more important than with the getting behind on your water bill. Timeliness for this is,
I mean, you really do need to get those registrations in on time so that it affects more things rather than, so it's different from the water.
Well, we talked about last month. We definitely, I mean, we have to go at least with 1.5 because we talked about this. At the situation 1 where the April 1st it goes back to 4, that makes no sense. So it at least needs to be the 1.5. And I mean, I am comfortable leaving it at 1.5. Like we said, because it does increase the further that it goes. You know, March 1st, all right, it's $10, but then it doubles, and then there's a $250. At that point, I think if a landlord is willing to wait till after April 1st and doesn't mind the citation, okay, fine. But I mean, at this point, like I say, it essentially gives a 30-day grace period, right? Okay, February 1st, you get till March 1st, you get a 28-day grace period. It's $10. After that, it starts to become more punitive. I'm content with 1.5.
Another thing too is when you send out your reminder letter, you might want to remind them that, you know, we want you to comply so that we don't have a situation where you'll be involved in a citable situation, like where they're leasing property without a license.
Sure.
You know, so that's something that you know, should catch their attention. No one really wants to be in a situation where they're going to get a citation.
So what is the term? What is the first day and last day that this fee that they're paying for? This allows you to rent a property beginning on X day and going till. Does it begin on February 1st? Does it begin on January 1st? What's the day that the
I think it's a calendar year.
calendar year?
So yes, it's calendar year.
Okay.
And you said most of them do pay in January, like 90%.
Yes, I would say a majority do, yeah.
When do the bills get sent out?
Sometime in December.
Okay.
So sorry.
No, that's fine. Go ahead, Bethany.
Well, we don't send invoices or anything. We just send out a packet for them to just fill in, report the number of units they have, all the properties, and the number of units they're in, their MDE lead number, and then if they are due for inspection during that current cycle that would run January to June for that calendar year, we would also include a notice of inspection due.
Okay.
So just to confirm, scenario 1.5, it doesn't have an increase for February, March, or April. It's only if you pay after April
Right,
where
it's
it goes
just
from the 4
Correcting that after April 1st, which seems like it was just an oversight when it was done.
Okay, because I thought you had mentioned about a $10 increase, and that would be scenario 2.
Oh no, I just
He was just saying it's a $10
it's
set up in
yeah.
there.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm content with 1.5. Like I said, we're trying to give people as wide of or as long of a leash as we can, while still maintaining that you have to do this. I mean, all the fees that we're going to see, all the new fees and everything that's going to come down on July 1st from the state, we can try and help some people as best as we can. All right, anything else on that?
So we settled on 1.5?
I'm content with 1.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, 1.5 it is.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Bethany. Enjoy. Bye now. All right, let's see. Anything else under the budget? Okay. Moving on then to item B, the water ordinance agreement.
So this will be a action item we'll present on first reading next week. This just basically is formalizing what you already agreed to by adopting the agreement with Surfline. So it will remove from the water ordinance the option of the city leak adjustment for properties that are eligible for Surfline. And for those who are eligible for the Surfline, it tells them you can't opt out of Surfline and still get the city's adjustment. So, just moving that forward. So we'll
Okay.
present that next week.
Very good.
All right. Item C, this is another ordinance proposal for the property tax credit for the fire department.
Yep, so we've drafted the ordinance for that. It'll establish the volunteer fire tax credit for just the Frostburg in the amount of $500 or $1,000 if there are 2 volunteers in the same household. It establishes the tax credit and some terminology along with eligibility criteria, expanding more on the credit amount, and then application process. So we will present that for first reading next week.
Good.
Okay. Questions on that? Okay, that'll get presented next week. Item D, an application to temporarily repeal the open container law. I assume this is Chief?
Yes, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. So I would recommend the council approve that request. No concerns about that at all from the police department. It's a positive event, and I think it helps promote downtown Frostburg.
Okay.
So we'll have a resolution to approve of that repeal next week then also.
Very good.
All right. Next item is from the street department. So we have an excess vehicle.
Yep, we have it's a 2010 Chevy single cab long bed. It's at the end of its life. The transmission is going out on it. It's pretty well rusted through on the floorboards, and it's over 100,000 miles. So we would just declare it surplus, and it's our last non-fleet lease vehicle.
What's wrong with the rusted out piece
Yeah,
of junk
you-
Chevy? That's what I drove here.
You know,
It's
you're
worse
not
than
gonna
yours.
make such a good car salesman.
That's what I drove here.
Well, maybe you should buy this one for
Maybe I should.
I'm an,
What's the
eng-
bed look like on it?
Put them both together and I'll have one decent one.
I'm an engineer, not a salesman. But so we would declare it surplus, and then we would sell it, presumably at scrap value.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
That's fine.
Must have named
You were supposed to
Take-
say
take
the supervisor was the one that drove it, and you only drove it on Sundays.
Take it out of my salary. All right. Next, item F, proclamation for Arbor Day.
Sure, yeah. Item E, we'll have a resolution next week also to declare that vehicle surplus. We have determined that we will be celebrating Arbor Day on the 21st, Monday at 2 o'clock. It will be a Arbor Day / playground, Glendenning playground ribbon cutting. So we will do a resolution to present that proclamation next week.
Did you say
and
1
then
o'clock?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
And we'll be promoting that to the community in the coming days.
In the green team, we were wondering if we could maybe also plant a tree in the vicinity of the new playground, since it is Arbor Day.
Yeah,
If
so
we could
Arbor
get
Day,
somebody from the DNR to help with that.
Julie from DNR will be joining us on that day, as well as a 4-H group from Bell Elementary.
Cool.
We'll be planting 3 trees.
Oh,
and
okay.
The green team's welcome to join.
It was a joint effort.
There you go.
Any other questions? Good. All right, thank you.
Do you know what kind of trees?
Native.
Bradford pear.
Brian Bode is in charge of the tree ordering. So, something native and complimentary.
Serviceberry.
Douglas fir.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Good on that. Arbor Day. Okay, moving on. Other discussion items. The Family Crisis Resource Center.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Again, so for a number of years, the Frostburg Police Department, with the city's approval, has provided off-duty security services at the Family Crisis Resource Center in Cumberland. Essentially, it's a reimbursement program. The city pays the officers to do it off-duty. The Family Crisis Resource Center reimburses the city dollar for dollar, or very close to dollar for dollar on salary. There may be some aspects of maybe workers' comp costs that Elaine could tell us about, but it's been a program we've had for probably at least 10 years, since well before I was the chief. And they recently sent us their MOU for renewal. What the practice has been, and I'm certainly at your service and direction, the practice has been that's renewed every year. I get approval from the city administrator and Commissioner Grove. They provided that approval, so we've signed it and sent it to them. So we'd be asking for your continued approval or ratification, and if you would at any point like us to do that different, we certainly would.
No, I think it's a great thing we do. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anything else on that? All right, cardboard recycling. What's
Yep.
going on there?
I'll keep it quick. For now, we haven't set anything in stone, but I just wanted to run it by everybody before we did make a move. As it stands now, we have 4 cardboard recycling dumpsters. They're supposed to get picked up once a week, and the cost per dumpster per month is about $135. We have the option now to get rid of those 4 dumpsters. That's through Bergmeyer's, and bring in one 40-yard dumpster from First Fruits, or First Fruits would bring it in, leave the dumpster, and then a recycling company in Cumberland is willing to drop off a compactor to us at no charge, and we would put that by the Parks and Rec building. So all of our recycling for cardboard would happen there. Parks and Rec guys would run it through the compactor, and that would get picked up once a month from First Fruits, and we would get charged once a month for all of the cardboard. So on paper, it sounds a lot better. It's a lot cheaper. Saves us money. We don't have cardboard in 4 different places. The only thing is, though, is that we no longer have 4 drop-off places for the community. I strongly recommend this. We are kind of at our wit's end with Bergmeyer's and their 4 different dumpsters. But obviously, I don't want to make any changes that would have an effect on the community like that.
One of those is free, correct?
No, we pay for all 4 of them. One of them
It
goes
was
through Parks
free
and
for
Rec.
years down at the one at the dog park. That
Yeah.
one.
No, we pay for all 4 now.
So there's
Really?
it's the dog park, Mount Pleasant Street,
The pool.
the pool, and there's one on the west
Glendenning.
end somewhere.
Glendenning,
Glendenning, yes.
The reason though that we have the 4 different sites is because it makes it convenient for people to drop off.
See
And
that?
I'm concerned that we're gonna just end up having a lot more garbage, I mean,
Yeah.
cardboard going to the garbage.
And the fee is currently $141 a month per unit. I was just reviewing bills before we came in.
With this First Fruit place, that
No, this is what we're paying by.
oh, yeah.
141 per unit per month.
Well, what does this place charge? Is it by weight?
It's free. They just take it from us. We just pay the trucking
Oh.
because they have new equipment to actually make money off of the cardboard now. So
Somewhere else that we could put this more centrally located.
yes and no. So we wanted it there at the Parks and Rec building because we would have staff there every day to run the compactor room, because we're not going to let the community use the compactor.
No.
Right, no,
Yeah.
I mean, but somebody could swing up there once a day and
Mhm.
compact it, right? I mean, that's not a.
Yeah, it's
even
just
if we put it somewhere else.
having a space big enough to do it. You know, really the only place
How
is-
big is the container?
So it's a 40-yard dumpster, and then the compactor itself is about half that size. So picture a dumpster this length, and then the compactor would be, you know, approximately double that.
I mean,
That
you know,
dumpster.
our 4 are already overflowing all the time. I mean, that's.
Which is why we want
Is
to
this
go.
gonna take on all 4
Yeah, with the compactor,
with the compact?
and it's free. The compactor is free. We still have to pay trucking once a month. So, so like I said, it's an option.
What's
if you
the
want,
trucking gonna cost us?
probably around $175 a month, because it's a bigger truck, but it's the fuel charges are the same.
I mean,
I-
it is nice having one of these all, you know, just, you know, 4 of them all.
I hesitate to say that we're gonna take them out of the neighborhood. Is there a way that we don't, and we can brainstorm this, we don't have to come up with an answer right now. If we did this and we put the one at the centralized location, is there a way we could get the parks guys to build something at a couple of these places where you could still go dump your cardboard?
And then go
And
around
then
and just.
have the street guy or have whoever go pick it up once in a while?
We could.
I mean, that's putting more man hours on the street department, I get that.
Yeah, I mean, all these things are possible. It's just, it's a pain. It's a tremendous, which is why we want to get, Public Works as a whole wants to get rid of them. Now, I don't speak for Commissioner Ritchie. Our staff, Parks and Rec included, is ready to be done with them entirely. Maybe that's just the Bergmeyer side. Maybe
Is it because of Bergmeyer's, or is it because of people not flattening the cardboard and then their
everything.
cardboard getting blown
Well,
around?
I just
Everything in
don't, I don't, we've had this discussion too. I don't think they're picking them up
They're not.
once a week.
But
like they're supposed to.
We call them once a week. And
Yeah.
we tell them, hey,
Is there somebody else that we could switch over to?
that's this company.
I mean, would they be willing to, I mean,
So-
could we do 4 of their dumpsters, you know, or?
Yes and no. So they would be willing to do pickups with different dumpsters, but we would have to provide the dumpsters, which we have some we could use. It's just kind of, again, we get into the neighborhood of when the dumpsters blow open and blow out, and then we're responding to that once a week.
Are they covered or are they open?
So they are covered, and then they would blow open and the cardboard would blow out. So then we had Bergmeyer's put lock bars on them, and the public broke the lock bars off.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
So
Well, that's no good.
Is Bergmeyer's not being responsive generally?
they'll answer the phone and they'll say, yeah, we'll come pick it up, and
But it's like it's not scheduled.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's nothing consistent about it.
Yeah.
We've had this issue.
yeah.
All right, let's think about this. Yeah, I agree. I don't want to get them out of the neighborhoods. I mean, I use the one on Mount Pleasant Street all the time, but aside from myself, I don't want to take them out of the neighborhoods if we can think of a way to do it.
just
But
think
I like.
Yeah, I just think people are not going to go all the way down to the. Parks and
No,
Rec
it's more
building.
convenient to.
No, I agree. I agree with that sentiment.
When we did it at Christmas time a few years ago, people did fill up that dumpster. They've been down at Parks and Rec.
Mhm.
So, I don't know.
I mean, we can always take it for a test drive.
I was gonna say, it was something that we discussed about looking into the option of this centralized location.
Yeah.
So if you prefer to keep it separate, then we can look into that as well.
What are we paying right now? $500 and some dollars.
Just about a month, yeah.
And that's part of what's in your garbage fund,
Yeah, and honestly,
expenses.
I pay for a little tiny cardboard dumpster over at the hotel, I pay $350 a month.
So food for thought. It doesn't have to happen now, obviously.
Let's think about it.
So
Yeah, see if we can come up with another location too, that might be.
Yeah, I mean, if we could do it in 2 places, maybe that would be better.
Yeah.
But
I think at the Okochee building. Just toss it in there.
we'll get to that.
all right. Anything else on that? Okay. Moving on then to item 5. Pursuant to the annotated Code of Maryland, General Provisions, Article Section 3-305B7, which allows for closed session to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice. A closed session is hereby needed to discuss an update regarding a potential liability concern. So we say.
I move that we adjourn to closed session.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the meeting adjourn and we move into closed session. Further discussion among council on that. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, this public portion of the session is adjourned and we move now into closed session.
Just give me a minute.
Sure.